The roar of the bulldozer hit me like a punch to the chest, its steel jaws tearing through the earth as if it were nothing more than wet paper. I stood frozen on my front porch, coffee mug trembling in my hand, watching the machine devour the flower beds my late wife, Clara, had spent decades nurturing. Petals crimson, violet, gold scattered into the wind, crushed beneath the tracks of this suburban monster. My heart didn't race, it burned. This wasn't just dirt being churned. It was memory, love, and promises ground into dust. Across the street, Evelyn Harper, the HOA's self-appointed dictator, stood with her arms crossed, her lips curled into a smug grin that screamed VY Tory. She thought she'd won. She had no idea I'd already lit the fuse. My name's Tom Ellis, a retired electrician who'd spent 30 years wiring houses and keeping the lights on for folks who never knew how close they were to the dark. I wasn't a loud man, never had been. Clara used to say I was the quiet before the storm steady, unassuming, but carrying a weight you didn't feel until it was too late. That morning, as the bulldozer carved a scar across my 5-acre plot on the edge of Willow Creek, I didn't scream or wave my fists. I pulled out my phone, opened a lawsuit tracker, and checked the status. Filed, time-stamped, locked and loaded. The legal gears were turning, and Evelyn Harper was about to learn what happens when you trespass on a man who knows how to fight. The air smelled of diesel and betrayal. The construction crew didn't even glance my way, their orange vests bobbing like buoys in a sea of gravel. One guy, young, maybe 20, gave a half-hearted wave, like he was doing me a favor by flattening my land. That strip wasn't just grass and soil, it was Clara's sanctuary. Every spring for 20 years, she'd kneel in that dirt, planting roses, lavender, and wildflowers, her hands stained with earth and hope. She'd hum old folk songs while she worked, her voice soft but steady, weaving life into every root. When cancer took her 3 years ago, those flowers became my tether to her. Now, they were gone, replaced by survey flags and the HOA's VY shown of a community access road nobody asked for. Evelyn strutted across the torn-up field, her heels sinking slightly into the fresh gravel. She wore oversized sunglasses that hid half her face and clutched a clipboard like it was a scepter. "Tom," she called, her voice dripping with condescension. "This is going to be so good for the neighborhood. No more bottlenecks on Maple Drive, and we've cleared out that messy patch you weren't even using." She gestured at the wreckage like she'd just unveiled a masterpiece. I took a slow sip of coffee, letting the heat steady my nerves. "That messy patch," I said, my voice low but sharp, "was my wife's garden. And this land? It's mine. Not yours, not the HOA's. You do realize you're building on private property, right?" She laughed a high, tinkling sound that grated like nails on a chalkboard. "Oh, Tom, don't be dramatic. We've had this plan for ages. It's all legal, signed off by the board. You should check the easement map. It's clear as day." Her smile didn't waver, but her eyes flicked to the side just for a second. She was lying, and she knew I knew it. I didn't argue. There was no point. Evelyn didn't deal in facts. She dealt in power. Instead, I nodded just enough to keep her smug and kept filming. My phone captured every word, every gesture, every inch of that bulldozer's path. What she didn't know was that I'd seen this coming. A month ago, I'd spotted survey stakes popping up along my fence line, bright orange markers screaming trouble. I didn't confront anyone then. I played dumb, acted like I hadn't noticed, and called Rachel Carter, an old friend from college who'd become the best property lawyer in the county. Rachel didn't just read deeds, she dissected them. She'd already torn through the HOA's claims, cross-referenced county records, and found their so-called easement map, a shoddy sketch that labeled my land as community space without a single signature to back it up. We'd filed a lawsuit 3 weeks ago. Trespassing, destruction of property, unauthorized construction, with damages pegged at $800,000 based on land value and emotional harm. The paperwork was airtight, time-stamped the day before the bulldozers rolled in. Every scoop of dirt they took now was another nail in their coffin. I had trail cams hidden along the fence, a drone buzzing overhead for aerial shots, and a growing folder of evidence that would make any lawyer salivate. When one of the workers tossed an empty energy drink can into what was left of Claire's roses, I zoomed in. Littering on private property, another checkbox ticked. That afternoon, Evelyn's husband, Carl, rolled up in his modified golf cart, complete with flashing lights and a bumper sticker that read, HOA compliance. Your safety, our priority. He parked it across my driveway, kicking up dust like he was staging a siege. Construction zone, Tom, he barked, puffing out his chest. You'll need to use the back gate today. Safety first. I stared at him, coffee still in hand, and considered how satisfying it would be to dent that cart with my mug. Instead, I said, You're blocking my legal access, Carl. Move it, or I'll have it towed. His face reddened, but he didn't budge. I snapped a photo of the cart, the license plate, and his self-important scowl, then walked away. Another exhibit for the case. The next morning, the crew poured the first layer of asphalt. Evelyn stood at the edge, clapping like she'd just opened a new hospital wing. Carl handed out bottled water to the workers, playing the gracious host. I watched from my porch, Baxter me old German shepherding at my feet, his ears twitching at the noise. I texted Rachel, they're pa-vying. Go time. She replied instantly. Motion to expedite filed. Keep filming. The trap was set, and they were walking right into it. Days passed, and the road grew longer, a black ribbon slicing through my eastern field. It hurt to watch, like seeing a wound widen with every cut. But I didn't stop them, not yet. The more they built, the worse it would be for them in court. I walked the site one afternoon, thermos in hand, and struck up a conversation with the foreman, a decent guy named Mike. Who signed off on this land? I asked casually. He scratched his neck, squinting. Voila diapa. So it was a shared easement. Showed us a map. No county permits. I pressed. He shrugged. Didn't see any. Just her word. I thanked him, my phone recording every syllable. That alone was dynamite confirmation the HOA had no legal backing, just Evelyn's lies. Back home, I organized my evidence like a general prepping for battle. I had everything: Claire's garden journals, time-stamped photos of the land, signed boundary surveys from when we bought the place in '92, even a video we'd made one spring, her laughing as she showed off a new rose hybrid. It all proved one thing. This was my land, always had been, with no easement or shared access ever recorded. Evelyn pushed harder. Carl blocked my driveway again, this time with cones and a handwritten sign. Authorized vehicles only. When I confronted him, he smirked. It's for the community, Tom. Don't make this personal. I didn't respond. I just moved the cones, drove through, and let my dash cam catch his tantrum as he yelled into his walkie-talkie. Pathetic but useful. Rachel and I hit the county records office that week, digging for any trace of the HOA's claimed easement. What we found was better than gold. Their legacy easement was tied to a 1975 agreement that expired when the original parcels split in '81. The clause was clear no roads or construction without written consent from all adjacent owners. I hadn't signed a thing, and neither had my neighbor, Walt, a reclusive widower who despised the HOA almost as much as I did. Evelyn had known Thisht tried to re-VYV the easement a month earlier, according to a clerk who remembered her VY sit. She'd left empty-handed and built anyway. That wasn't just a mistake, it was intent. We added willful trespass to the suit, along with a new twist. I'd flown my drone over the site one evening, expecting to catch more PA-VYing footage. Instead, I saw a worker bulldoze a patch of brush near the creek, flattening a cluster of nests I'd documented years ago with a local wildlife group. They were home to gray catbirds, a species protected under state law. The footage showed the nest crushed, one worker kicking a broken egg into the dirt. I sent it to Rachel, who nearly shouted through the phone. This is federal-level bad, Tom. We're talking environmental violations now. She fired off copies to the state wildlife agency and the EPA. The HOA wasn't just stealing my land, they were breaking laws that could shut them down. The HOA's next move was almost comical. Evelyn slipped a letter under my door, an official notice accusing me of violating community rules by interfering with infrastructure improvements. It demanded I stop harassing the crew with my drone. I laughed, taped it to my fridge next to a photo of Claire's roses, and kept flying. They thought they could scare me with fines. They didn't know I was building a case that would bury them. The neighborhood started to crack. The HOA's monthly newsletter sparked a revolt. Residents questioned why funds are going to a road nobody voted on when the playground was still a rusted mess. At an emergency meeting, Evelyn tried to spin it, while VYing her gavel like a wand, but people weren't buying it. I sat in the back, silent, until she claimed the county had verbally approved the project. I stood. "That's a lie," I said, calm as stone. I checked with the assessor. No approval. No filing, nothing. The room froze. Evelyn stammered, Carl sank in his chair, and I walked out. Silence was louder than any argument. A local blogger got wind of the story after I shared the nest footage with a neighbor who knew her. Within hours, it was online. HOA bulldozes private land, destroys protected wildlife. Comments exploded outrage, demands for accountability. Evelyn went from neighborhood queen to public enemy overnight. I stayed quiet, letting the pressure build. The cease and desist order hit a week later, followed by an injunction to halt construction. The crew packed up, Leah VYing a half-paved road like a broken promise. Evelyn threw a community celebration, anyway, complete with balloons and a banner proclaiming Willow Creek Parkway. I crashed it, phone out, and told her every word was going to court. Her smile faltered, just for a second, and I knew she was starting to feel the weight. The courtroom was a different beast, cold, formal, all eyes on the judge. Rachel laid out our case like a surgeon. Deeds, surveys, footage, the wildlife report, even a clip of Evelyn bragging about not needing my permission. Their lawyer, a nervous guy named Paul, fumbled through a story about implied consent based on an old HOA flyer. The judge didn't buy it. Then we called Walt, who testified Evelyn had pressured him to sign over his land too. He'd refused, and she'd forged ahead. The judge's pen stopped MOVYing. That was the kill shot. The ruling came fast. Dula $800,000 in damages. Legal fees covered, construction halted, the road to be removed within 60 days. The judge tacked on a referral to the state for environmental and fraud investigations. Evelyn sat stone still, her pearls suddenly looking like a noose. Carl wouldn't meet my eyes. As we left, a few HOA members apologized, one saying, "We didn't know she'd go this far." I nodded. It wasn't their fault. Power like Evelyn's thrives on silence. Weeks later, the site was quiet again. I hired a restoration team to replant the field wildflowers, cedars, even a new rose bed for Clara. The settlement money funded a public trail along the old road's path, with signs about the plants and birds that would return. Kids from the local school came by, their laughter filling the air as they ran through the grass. Baxter chased them, tail wagging, and for the first time in months, I felt light. Then Evelyn sent a letter, claiming emotional distress from the lawsuit and demanding Duloc $200,000. I laughed so hard Baxter barked in confusion. Rachel killed it with a single filing, citing frivolous claims. It was Evelyn's last gasp, and it fell flat. Now I walk the trail every morning, coffee in hand, Baxter at my side. The neighborhood's quiet or not perfect, but cautious. The new HOA board sends polite updates, no more threats. Evelyn's gone silent. Her house for sale, Carl nowhere to be seen. Some think I won because I got the money or the land back. But that's not it. I won because I kept Clara's memory alive, because I turned their scar into something beautiful. Revenge isn't about destruction, it's about building something better on the ruins they leave behind. And every bloom on that trail proves I did just that. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.